Welcome to this week's edition of Kiddo and Janko Wednesdays at Lunch
Burger Edition.
This week we went to La Belle et la Boeuf in downtown Montreal. It was my first time ever stepping into the place. It was happening. It was packed. This was a later start than we usually get off to for this show. Matthew, initial reaction.
Well, I just want to start off by saying this is a very intimate episode of Kiddo and Janko.
That's true.
Wednesdays at lunch.
We're currently down to one microphone, and so we're about a foot away from each other. I'm gazing into those big brown eyes of yours, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm looking at the emeralds.
Ooh, they're green right now.
Yeah.
My eyes change color. I never know what they're going to be.
Well, I can let you know.
That's
as the show goes on. I'll let you know any changes.
How deeply we're gazing into each other's eyes. I feel like I need to avert my gaze.
It's difficult. Our knees are interlocked. There's
a little bit. There's a little knee play going on here.
A lot of closeness.
Yeah.
But to the burgers.
Yes.
The burger joint that we went to, you called the Belle and the Boeuf?
La Belle et la Boeuf? Is that
yeah, that's
the name of the place?
That's what it is. I called Beauty and the Beef.
You just translate it on the fly.
Yeah, I like that. I've been there a few times.
So what do you think of Beauty and the Beef?
Man, it's expensive, but it's pretty enjoyable.
Okay.
Just the ambiance, I really love taxidermy. And I don't know why taxidermy and food go so well for me, but
seems like they shouldn't, aside from the whole using the whole animal thing. But we weren't eating moose burgers, so that's not applicable.
No. These are beef.
They had a taxidermy moose. There was like a white deer or an elk or some such. There were a lot of old TVs, a lot of like tube TVs that were from the 80s. There was a whole section of books that were barred off, like they couldn't even take those books out of the shelf without uninstalling a piece of metal, which kind of weirded me out.
I think that's more just they probably didn't open with that, but when people would start taking books out, they were like, we need to lock this down.
I suppose, but it felt like those books were now in book jail and not able to serve their purpose to society as books being able to be read. Now they're just just their spine is a decoration.
That's what books. That's all the books are now.
It's sad, man. It's a sad thing.
It's boxes of books being given away.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
On a basis of weeks, days, churches are just donating that stuff. Books.
Libraries do.
That's what I meant.
Well, I'm sure they're both doing it. Maybe.
Kind of
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Aside from the Bible and a few books, I don't know what books they're using.
So the decor is really like you're up at a cottage. The kind of things you'd have at a cottage. You wouldn't have a brand new TV. You'd have an old TV. You'd have some old books. You'd some animal heads. A lot of some like tools for cutting wood.
Saws.
Yep.
Okay.
Saws. that's the basic tool.
I mean, when we walked in, it was already pretty busy. We weren't able to get a table. They said it was going to be either the bar or a 15-minute wait for the table, or we could sit at that table in the corner. And I was wondering, like, why is there just one table with two chairs and no one sitting at it, and we still have to wait for a table?
Yeah. I mean, we were sitting at that table while we were waiting for a table. And then we realized
that was like the waiting table until someone said, "Hey, you want to just eat here?" And that was fine.
I was invested already in that table.
Now, maybe we should explain why that table was the way it was. Why it's a waiting table and not a proper table. It's because it was a cocktail-style arcade cabinet.
It was a video game table.
It was a video game table with a flipping screen, so I could play Mrs. Pac-Man, and then
there you go.
And then and then you could play Mrs. Pac-Man from your perspective in a two-player game. And it didn't just have Mrs. Pac-Man, although I am a pretty big fan of Mrs. Pac-Man. One of my favorite arcade games of all time. Right up there with Indy Kart Fury. Very different game. A lot newer, but still fun. So we played Mrs. Pac-Man and other games for a while.
Yeah. We ate a burger.
Yeah, we
at
also
some point.
we also ate a burger at that table.
But the
They
games
gave us the menus, and we couldn't. Neither of us could even look at the menus for the first 10 minutes there.
captivated.
We were definitely captivated by Mrs. Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Pac-Man Jr. is what we started with unintentionally. Pac-Man Jr. is a freaking weird game. Not a biggest fan of Pac-Man Jr. And we basically stuck with Mrs. Pac-Man most of the way.
Yeah. By and large, Mrs. Pac-Man's the way to go. There were we helped frogs cross the road.
There was a little Frogger. It was the first time I ever played Frogger, and I'm sad to say, I wasn't able to save a single frog. I died every single time. Didn't get any frogs across the road, and I thought and jokes on me. I thought Frogger was a simple game. What do I know about Frogger?
The rules of Frogger were dubious at best.
It's a little strict Frogger. At first I thought I had to get into the grass. You die in the grass, which is weird. You got to get into a little slot. I got into the slot, but no, I kind of was on the edge of the grass, so I died.
Too specific.
Real, not too much margin for error, which was killing me on the Frogger.
Yeah. We did, but overall, Frogger was much better than, what was it, Dig Dug?
Dig Dug.
Jesus.
I've heard good things about Dig Dug. Dig Dug is one of these great classic arcade games.
You would say that to every game that I passed by. You're like,
No.
Dig Dug, and you're like, oh, I heard that's a good one. What's next?
No. I said that to maybe half of them.
But you'd never want to play. You'd be like, what's the next one?
Well, I'm curious. Maybe there's one that's got... I mean, okay. Xenomorphs or Xeno... There was Xeno something. Something with an X, no?
Yeah.
Xenophobes? I don't know what it was. Something. Xeno, in this case, is aliens, or you're shooting down aliens. Not unlike Centipede. Not unlike Galaga or whatever the other ones we were playing. I hear that that's a good one. But, there were other games that Mr. Do? I don't know what the hell Mr. Do is. I didn't say, I hear good things about Mr. Do. I have no clue what Mr. Do is. So I heard good things about Dig Dug as one of these classic arcade games. We couldn't even figure out how Dig Dug works. It's I made a rock fall. That must be what you have to do. That seems really hard to do.
I mean, at some point, I thought maybe you had to have a dragon chase these little guys and burn them with flames.
I was doing that for a while. Thought I was burning a bad guy. No, he just kept walking. I was like, no, it's not the dragon. That's not the answer.
Yeah.
These classic arcade games, because they're so simple, they frustrate me a lot.
Yeah.
I slammed that table a number of times. I was talking on our way here about how I wouldn't mind having one of those in my home, the cocktail-style arcade cabinet. Except I'd have to get an even thicker piece of glass than they had there. Because I slammed it so many times, I got nervous that I was going to break their table. And not like it was slamming it really angrily. It was like a... Drat!
Yeah.
My frog got hit!
You're drawing a lot of attention our way, to say the least.
Was I? Yeah?
Oh, yeah. People beside us. At first, I was like, maybe they're jealous that we have the gaming table.
Well, for sure they were.
They were. They just have to sit there and talk to their partners or whatever.
Oh, I gotta talk to my date. Meanwhile, I'm like, God damn it, Dig Dug!
Yeah. And I'm rolling in ecstasy because I know that when your Dig Dug dies,
you're up next.
Yeah. Flipping tables. So it was good. But yeah, you hit that table a few times.
Yeah. Basically, any time I died in almost any game.
But you also celebrated
80% of the time. That's true.
The celebrations were also attention grabbing.
I like how for me it's I shot my way through one round of Space Aliens and I'm just punching the air. I'm fist pumping. I'm going woo, yeah. I got really worked up and into it.
Yeah, and really only the one table beside us knew that was a table with a game in it. Everybody else, they look over. Yeah. We're either having an intense fight or
a spirited conversation.
Yeah.
Or I have a mild Tourette syndrome or something where every now and again I just start hooping and hollering.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it was very convenient. We tried... I had heard a whole bunch, believe it or not, about Super Pac-Man. Because Super Pac-Man is this weird sequel to Pac-Man when in reality, Mrs. Pac-Man is the true sequel to Pac-Man. It's like a refined Pac-Man. Super Pac-Man is like wild Pac-Man. We played it for a bit. You were much better at most of these arcade games than I was, to my disappointment. And Super Pac-Man, level 4, was a burger level. Instead of eating little dots, Pac-Man was eating burgers. And I felt like that was awfully appropriate for this show that we finally got to, that you got to, level 4, burger level.
It was super exciting. It was burgers and keys.
It was.
You know, the more keys you eat, the more burgers you unlock.
Yeah.
That was basically it. I didn't beat the burger level, but I was excited just to have a shot at it.
Well, I mean, what was before that? Apples,
the
bananas.
classics. Yeah, there was the banana level. No, you know, the classic.
Not pretzels.
Pac-Man meals.
And then burgers.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But, okay, Matthew, I remember one time, it's a while ago now.
It better be related to burgers.
No.
Okay, well, we'll get back to the burgers soon.
Relating to Boy Scouts.
Oh.
You were a longtime scout. And I think I know. I think I know where
this is going.
Where we got into quite a little fight.
Is this another tale of Enter the Vortex?
This is another tale of Enter the Vortex.
Oh yeah, it was Tales from the Vortex.
Whatever.
Go ahead.
Whatever. Where
humiliate me.
Where you were telling me that in your scout hierarchy, you were a knight.
I was not a knight. I had not gotten the honor yet. Not yet.
Have you been?
Since then, yes.
When I felt like it was imminent when at the time of our argument about it.
Well, it wasn't. It was something I had aspired to, but no. One of our
a friend
leaders, one of our scout leaders, they were being knighted. Yeah.
Now, I guess refresh my memory, and for anyone listening who's not familiar with the Scouts Canada hierarchy, so what are you, a brownie? And then or that's the ladies, huh? You're a Cub Scout? What's the hierarchy?
Okay, you're going beavers.
Okay.
Cubs, Scouts, Venturers, Rovers, and potentially afterwards a leader of your own troop. Now, this is being knighted is not part of scouting so much as it is part of the oldest scout camp in Canada, I believe. The founder of
Scouts
Canada, which I believe is Lord Baden-Powell.
It's a great name.
I'm a little hazy on this, but anyway, the camp is over 100 years old, and since 1911, 1914, something like that, they started doing this thing where they would knight people who showed remarkable camping enthusiasm or skills, or I don't know what the criteria was. It's lessened since then.
I think this is where my issues started to arise.
Okay.
It was at this night level. I assumed it was part of the scout structure, hierarchy, whatever you want to call it. My issue was that being dubbed a knight by a camp holds nothing to me. I was saying, well, who cares? I could call my neighbor the knight of our street. Who cares? What authority do I have to dub anyone a knight? Now, the Queen says, Patrick Stewart, you're a knight. That's also silly, I suppose. But it's a queen. They are a monarch. They're on all of our money. I suppose they have the right to knight.
And a lord does not? Lord Baden-Powell.
Nah, man. The Queen can knight.
I guess, but
Lord Stanley can give us a cup, but that's about it.
Now, there's a lot to be said for just tradition. Like when you're knighting somebody on the street, on your street, I hereby knight you.
Well, like grabbing a baguette and hitting them on both shoulders and their head and going, you're the knight of bread for me. If I ever need bread, I'll give you a phone call.
Yeah, now you do that once. It's silly. You do it the next year. It's still silly.
And then it's a tradition.
100 years later, people are flocking. People are bringing you tons of bread.